Today I'm fighting by sea. It's about damn time. This game has been getting a good deal of attention. Welcome to the show, folks. Gregor here. If you've been playing World of Warships for any amount of time, you've likely grown used to the tech that we have on offer right now. Currently, all we really have are two nations worth of tech trees, those being ships of the United States and Imperial Japan. Now, the game is mechanically complex enough that these two tech trees have characteristics to them that are unique even by class of ship. For instance, Japanese cruisers are well known for being a little bit more nimble than their American counterparts, in addition to usually being equipped with torpedoes. American cruisers are generally well known for large amounts of anti-aircraft guns and rapid-firing main guns. Now, we know that there are going to be some tech trees implemented for even more ships in the future. In fact, we have a couple of premium ships here and there to suggest that, including ships of Soviet, German, and British origin. But today I'm talking about the Germans! And while I'm sure that there are many Royal Navy enthusiasts out there that are a little upset that they don't seem to be getting that much attention nowadays, I still like the idea of the Germans coming to the game. They fielded some very unique and bombastic designs. Obviously, ships like the Bismarck come to mind. In fact, we already have her sister ship, the Tirpitz, in-game, which is a sort of hybrid between a heavy cruiser and a battleship in terms of playstyle. Very unique design. In addition, the concept of so-called pocket battleships was uniquely German, and so we get to see them here. The first ships being added to the German tech tree are cruisers. Here's what Wargaming has released. Pretty bare bones, tier 1 to tier 10, one ship per tier. It can be assumed that the first few ships in the line will branch off into other lines, similar to how the Japanese and American ships are implemented. But let's not waste any more time. I'm going to talk about each ship shown here and give you an idea of how they'll probably function in game. First up is the Hermelin. Like many of her tier 1 counterparts, this ship was designed as a small gunboat. Its role would have been to patrol the waters of various German colonies. However, following the aftermath of the First World War, Germany of course lost those colonies. The ship was never built as a result. She's rendered in-game though. Here are some pictures. Looks like a fun little tier 1 ship equipped with two dual 128mm guns. Next is the tier 2 Dresden class, with a more illustrious operational history than the Hermelin, understandably. There were two of these ships built and flew under the flag of the German Empire during the First World War. Definitely a sort of older looking design with those distinctive smokestacks. This thing carried a great deal of guns on board. 10 105mm cannons, 8 50mm secondary batteries, and even 2 torpedo tubes. However, those were submerged tubes, and I doubt they'll function in game. A nimble cruiser with some hard-hitting close-range firepower. After that is the tier 3 Coburg class cruiser. Technically a light cruiser in design, 4 of these were built and also served under the flag of the Imperial German Navy. Their maneuverability will likely be something a little bit to desire, but they're reasonably fast in a straight line. Equipped with 12 105mm cannons and a couple torpedo tubes, but those are also submerged like the Dresden. Still, perhaps it'll give the St. Louis a bit of a fight in a close-up brawl. Tier 4 hosts the Karlsruhe class cruiser, another light cruiser designed similar in functionality to the Coburg. She also served with the Imperial German Navy, though its service career was rather short-lived. 2 ships were built, one was lost to an internal explosion of unknown origin months into her career, and the other was scuttled to avoid capture halfway through the war. This class of ship is very mobile with the same caliber of guns the Coburg is equipped with, only this one gets 12 instead of just 10. Lots of firepower for a tier 4 cruiser, pretty fast in a straight line as well. At tier 5, things start to get interesting. We see the characteristics that make German cruisers fairly unique start to stand out a little bit more. This is another light cruiser design, the Königsberg class. It's the first class of ship in this line, historically speaking, to have served with the Kriegsmarine of Nazi Germany. 3 of them were built. Interestingly enough, one of them was named the Karlsruhe as well. Which one's being implemented at tier 4? I deduce that the tier 4 Karlsruhe would be the ship that served with the German Empire during the First World War. Wargaming has specified that most of the ships in-game are named after the flagships of that class. There are exceptions to this, but I can see a logical line of progression here. Now back to the Königsberg. What makes this thing stand out? For starters, it's a nimble ship, like most of the German cruisers up to this point. She's equipped with 3 triple-barreled turrets holding 150mm guns, 2 88mm anti-aircraft guns, and 4 triple torpedo tubes mounted amidships. You can see them highlighted in the pictures here. Not like a destroyer tubes, where they can rotate on the turret, but they're there. You essentially have 6 torpedoes that can be fired from either side of the ship at a given time. I'm willing to bet that these will be functional. Another interesting thing to note is the configuration of the guns. The Königsberg class had 2 turrets in the rear, but only 1 up front. If this ship is as maneuverable and fast in a straight line as we're led to believe, This ship could be very effective for harassing slower targets in the distance, since it can move away from a vessel and still keep most of her guns to bear on the target. Those torpedoes should also help with anything that gets too close to it. It also carries a crane to launch reconnaissance float planes. I think this ship will be one of the more versatile Tier 5s in the game, and based off of what I've looked at here, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing it. Next to Tier 6 is the Nürnberg class cruiser, another ship that served with the Kriegsmarine. Nürnberg, the ship, was the longest serving major warship of the German Navy during World War II. Quite a service history. She's very similar to the Königsberg in design. Fast in a straight line, up to about 30 knots. 3 triple-barreled 150mm gun turrets, 2 in the rear and 1 in the front again. Her anti-aircraft capabilities are much stronger, 8 88s, 8 37s, and several 20mm. She also carries the same torpedo configuration that the Tier 5 Königsberg does, as well as catapults for floatplanes. In essence, this is an upgraded Königsberg, better anti-air and it's a bit faster. I like the look of it too. Tier 7 is where things get a little bit weird though. I'm not sure what history books or documents Wargaming is looking at, but there simply doesn't seem to be a York-class cruiser that would fit at Tier 7. The only 2 ships I could find in the German Navy that carried that name were very old World War I era ships. Unfortunately, I can't really find much more on the thing. It's like it doesn't exist. Perhaps it's entirely made up, a blueprint design from sources that only Wargaming seem to have, or a conversion from an earlier tiered ship. We'll see. If anyone watching this has any information pertaining to it and any other ships like it in the tree, and they're there, please let me know. A little bit more weight is added to the German cruisers at Tier 8, with arguably the most well-known of these ships, the Admiral Hipper class heavy cruiser. 5 of them were built. One of them, the Seydlitz, was part of a project to be converted into an aircraft carrier, but that never happened. In that, however, it's possible that we could see the Seydlitz in the aircraft carrier branch for the Germans, if that ever happens. Anyway, on to the Hipper. The Hipper was a heavy cruiser in name and in combat doctrine. She was equipped with 4 dual-barreled 203mm turrets, 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. That dual turret was something very common in German battleship design, but one of these things that makes this ship stand out is its absolutely ludicrous amount of anti-aircraft guns. 12 105mm guns in twin mountings, 12 37mm guns, and 8 20mm. The main deck also hosted torpedo tubes, 12 of them, mounted in 4 triple launchers. Maneuvering characteristics seem reasonably good, not quite like the lighter, lower-tiered ships, but what you'd expect from a ship of this size and weight. I think what's going to make this ship stand out from the Mogami and the New Orleans that exist in-game now would be the combination of reasonably good armor and firepower. A pocket battleship, a uniquely German concept. She's also very well protected from attacks by air with that large amount of anti-aircraft guns at her disposal. Looks like a potent Tier 8 cruiser. And then, things get weird again as we finish a lineup at Tier 9 and Tier 10. I really wish Wargaming would provide more information on this, but at Tier 8 exists the Rune class cruiser, and well, the only Rune cruiser I found, once again, was a World War I era ship. Obviously this can't be it. The Tier 10 Hindenburg is the same. She was a Great War era battlecruiser. I seriously have no idea what to make of this, but we can only guess as to what Wargaming is cooking up. Like I said on the York class, these ships could be entirely made up for all I know, and we're all aware that that's not particularly strange for Wargaming to do. Only time will tell what the hell these ships really are, but I'm going to keep my eyes open. Again, if anyone watching this has any information pertaining to these ships, please let me know. I'd love to know more about them, and I'd like to cover them at some point. So that's the German cruiser line, or what I can actually show you at least. German military history is one that encompasses just about every theater of war, being situated on a continent with long stretches of open terrain and bordering waters of the Atlantic and the Scandinavian fjords. German engineers have a history of focusing on sometimes complex, but very precisely designed machines, and while the country's history in the 20th century is one of a great deal of political upheaval, it's maintained a relatively strong navy throughout that time, from the German Empire to the fall of the Third Reich and beyond. In World of Warships, these cruisers should be a welcome addition. There's still a great deal of things that can be added to the tree. Germany fielded some mighty battleships, but they also fielded a very large number of destroyers. Aircraft carriers might be a bit of a novelty, but we'll see. I'm still looking forward to it. The German cruiser line is slated to hit the high seas in October, so a little less than a month away. Are you going to be checking them out? Let me know in the comments. I'll be covering their release soon enough, so if you like what you saw here, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. My name's Gregory Havener. Thanks for watching.